All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. We're starting the discussion right now. We're calling it In Search of Reason. Who should be the voice of reason? This is coming just days after violent protests that included deaths, destructions, and blame games and outright anger from across the board. Who should be the voice of reason? Should it be the clergy? Should it be the clerics? Should it be the people? Should it be the government? What are your thoughts? At Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. We'd like to sample some of your views and talk about this. I'm joined here in studio with Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome. He is a Muslim scholar. Thank you so much for making time, sir.
Thank you.
And all the way from Dallas, in the United States of America, is Bishop Professor John Okinda. He's the Vice Chairman, NCCK, and also the presiding Bishop, Pefa Church. Thank you so much for making time. And from Kisumu studio, the Right Reverend Professor David Cordia is the Bishop, Anglican Diocese of Bondo. Thank you very much for making time. And I'll start with you here, Sheikh. What do you think is the problem facing the nation today?
Thank you, Trevor. And I want to commend Citizen TV for making this decision that we need to talk together, talk with each other. And reason, because as we look at what is happening in the country, actually, we have to do something about it. Now, whose responsibility is it to make sure that we don't lose this country? I don't think it's the responsibility of any one stakeholder. It's all of us together. You, as the media, have a role to play. Our political leadership have a role to play. We, the religious leaders, have a role to play. The youth have a role to play, so all of us have a role to play. Each one of us needs to play the role. What we need to agree upon is this the kind of country we want to have? Is this good for the future of this country? The answer is no, Trevor. Is there something that we can do? Of course there is something we can do. And we need to begin by saying this. You know, peace, Trevor, is something that is so valuable, it's priceless. And losing peace is very easy. We have seen countries lose peace, they lose their country because of something very small. And a good doctor is the one who does not treat the symptoms. It is a doctor who diagnoses the root causes of the disease. And that's why when you go to see a doctor, they'll even ask you the history of the disease. Where have you gone? Have you taken this and that? Because they don't want to treat the symptoms. What we are seeing now, Trevor, are the symptoms. And we need to address those, we need to treat the underlying root causes. Is it doable? Yes. Must we do it? Trevor, we have no other option but to save this country. So it is time for the country, first of all, to turn to God Almighty, because this is a gift from God. And one of the names of God in Islam is As-Salam, meaning peace. Did God give us this country so that we destroy it? The answer is no. God gave us this country so that we can live in peace with each other, regardless of our diversity, worship Him, and do what it is that is pleasing to God. Okay. Now, we need to do something about it because we have to save this country. Yeah.
All right. I'll come back to delve deeper into that with you in just a short while, but let me bring in Reverend Cordia in Kisumu. Reverend, what do you think is the problem so far?
I think, first of all, Trevor, the problem we are facing are manifold. One, we have the problem of personal interest. When someone feels that his security, his daily bread, what he stands for, and all that which is about him is under threat, he will behave differently. So the first thing we have to address is the personal interest vis-a-vis the interest of the whole nation. If personal interest overshadows the common values that we hold, overshadows that aspects of communal understanding of life and what life means to each and every individual, then we lose it all. So I would say that the first major problem we are facing as a nation is the personal interest, which has been overriding in every aspect.
All right. And Reverend Kodia, how do we achieve peace in the face of perceived injustice?
You know, for the last few years, whenever we have had an election, people had been talking about peace. And I could also hear, well, even some of us as church leaders talking about peace. But peace, when it is overly emphasized at the expense of justice, then it is of no use at all. So peace and justice, they must go together. And talking about justice, I simply refer to all those factors which necessitates individual rights. Rights of a community, rights of individuals as enshrined, not only in our tradition as a people, but also in our constitution as a civilized and as a civilized state. So that is where the catchword is. What is peace and what is justice? The two must be married together for it to make any sense.
Mm-hmm. And therefore, in that sort of situation, Professor Reverend Kodia, how then do you balance those two? Because there's one side feels that there's been injustice that has been served, and the other side is now not peaceful because of that injustice. Who tones down first? The person's agitating for their rights, or the person who's perceived to be dishing out the injustice?
Trevor, I want to echo what my other mentors had said before, that rights are never given. And if you sit down there thinking that the state will be able to give you your rights, you are wrong. Rights are taken. Rights are demanded. Because these are legitimate things for our humanity. So when you say the right to freedom of expression, to freedom of movement, or to freedom of association, these rights, they are not supposed to be negotiated with the state because they are inalienable rights. They are things which are God-given. So when we talk of human rights or rights of individuals to access information, these are things which we don't have to negotiate with the state. State is only an instrument of the society whose primary function is to protect those rights, not to take them away at whatever cost.
Okay. Let me bring in Bishop Okinda on this. Bishop Okinda is joining us all the way from Dallas. Bishop, what is your diagnosis of the problem facing Kenya right now? Bishop Okinda, what do you think is the problem facing Kenya as we speak? All right, we seem to be having a bit of a challenge, Bishop Okinda. I'll get back to him in a short while. But Sheikh, there are two things that you raised that were very interesting. You said that we seem to be focusing on symptoms and not the root cause.
Yes, yes.
What is the disease in your perspective?
In my view, Trevor, and it's not lost to Kenyans, when we went to the last elections, I think hopes were raised. The expectations were very high. Remember the bottom-up. This is not a person from a dynasty and the rest, and we are going to take care of the mama mbogas of this world, the boda young people and the rest. So there was a lot of hope, a lot of expectations, and people were waiting for things to happen. When they did not happen and life did not change, and again, you know, Trevor, we don't expect miracles to happen. These are human beings. Even those people in power or in positions of leadership, they are human beings. Some things are doable, some things are not doable. But you know, it's human nature, when you do not get information, then you speculate. My expectation and what I think should have been the right thing is this: keep on talking to the people and inform them what is doable, what is not doable. And again, people are watching and seeing. For example, if you say that our economy is not doing very well, it is wrong now for the people to see you fraudulently, showing your wealth and the rest. We've seen ministers showing what the kind of shoes they buy and how much they are worth. We don't mind. You can wear your watch worth 8 million, but why tell the public about it? So people want to see, when you say the economy is not doing good, it's only fair for the people to see that you're also doing something to make sure that you're cutting down on the expenses. Mm-hmm. So when certain things are not achievable, talk to the people, discuss with the people. People are watching. So for me, one of the underlying root causes is when the promises that were given to the people were not fulfilled. But again, remember, we are here to pacify the country. Is all lost? The answer is no. Do we have an option? Let me tell you, Trevor, from where I sit, we have no option but to think of how we can save this country. And that is common to all of us. Whether you're politicians, a young person, the clergy, a media person like you, we want to save this country. The direction we are moving is very dangerous for the country. So here again, and I like what the bishop has just said, the bishop from Homa Bay. What is it, Bondo, from Bondo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what he said here. Some selfish interest somewhere. We are human beings, and we know the way we are created by God. There is always that, what is in it for me? But when there is a conflict between your personal interest, Trevor, my personal interest, the personal interest of the person sitting in an office somewhere, when that interest is in conflict with the bigger interest, and for me, there are no two ways of looking at it. The bigger interest is this country. The bigger interest is peace for this country. Then when there is that conflict, then we have to give precedence and priority to the bigger interest. The country comes first now. So for us, actually, as Kenyans now, Trevor, what should be concerning us? And I'm glad you as a media house, you've called us because you are concerned. So every Kenyan now watching this, the youth, the leadership, including the president himself, the ministers and everybody, our common goal is this. We have to save this country. We have to look at the short-term solutions, cease fire, then sit down, because when there is, let's say, I want to imagine when maybe there is a pest in your house, you don't burn the house because there is a pest inside there. You look for a way of making sure you remove that which is harmful in your house without burning the house. We are burning the house. We are about to burn, God forbid. But Trevor, at this rate, we are burning the house. So, yes, we have genuine concerns out there, genuine grievances, and they have a right. People have a right to agitate for that. We want justice. But what is the price that we are about to pay? Looking at things unfolding, the price for me is so dear that we might have no country at all. At the end, when we get that justice, there might be no country. So my plea from where I sit, and I think this is godly, I would dare say that, is that we need to sit down. Don't sweep anything under the carpet.
Yeah.
Put everything on the table. This is what is ailing us. This is where we think we have gone wrong. Then put down what is it that we can address immediately, short term, and then the long term. Okay. But what is common, at the end of the day, we must save this country.
Okay. Reverend Cordia, let me bring you back into this, and I'd like to hear from all of you at this particular time, because it's a very politically charged season. So how then does the clergy balance their spiritual role, public advocacy, in a political setup?
Yes, I just want to let you know for certain that it's not a question of balancing the equation, politics and religion. The Bible, as a Christian, I know for certain that Bible is the most politicized book in the world, because Bible addresses issues of bad leadership from the very beginning, from Genesis to Revelation. Bad leadership is condemned, and God had brought out many prophets over the years to address the issue of leadership. So we cannot just say we balance. It is a question of what is our prophetic role in a world that is full of wretchedness, in a world that people kill each other without any sense of shame, in a world where people steal with impunity and they don't even look behind whether someone is seeing them or not. We are in a world where people are seeing themselves as superior or superhuman, and others are supposed to be their servants or slaves. Bible addresses all these things throughout the centuries. And so it's not a question of balancing our political views or political philosophy and religious philosophy. All these things are woven together in what in the academia we'll call humanities. So our role as clergy or as the church is to interpret what God is telling us through his scripture, through our personal encounter with him in special ways, through the feelings of others, those who are crying in pain. So it's a whole compass of human issues which are not auguring well with God's will. So that's where we are.
Okay.
We are not trying to balance anything.
Reverend, the reason why I'm asking about balance is because if you condemn one side, then they always feel like you're siding with the other side. Because the situation we have right now, it's an us versus them sort of conversation. If you side with the people who are protesting, the government feels like you are now encouraging anarchy. If you side with the government, the people who are protesting feel like you're now supporting injustice. Is there a possible balance?
Trevor, I just want to be honest with you. I will always side on the side of those who are right. And I will always be guided by my understanding of the Constitution of Kenya. I'll be guided by my understanding of the rule of law. I'll be guided by common values which are there for all of us to guide us in matters of decision making. So I'm guided, I'm loaded with so many things that guide me in making a decision. So it doesn't matter. If the government is right, I will stand and say, here the government is right. If those in the opposition are right, I will say, here they are right. But I will not side with one side for the sake of it. I will side by what God, in his own way, is convicting me to say at a time like this. So in my view, I'm neither there or there. I'm on the side of the truth. And you cannot petition truth and say that this truth belongs to this side, this truth belongs to this side. When something is right, it is right. It is right everywhere. When sun is shining, it is shining. You cannot say that this sun the sun that shines in Nyanza is brighter than the sun that shines in Makueni. So we must distinguish our own personal views from what inspires us to see things in a bigger way or a bigger picture, have a bigger picture of what is going on in the country. So It is not me to say, I want to side with the opposition this time. I don't care which side I am. When I feel so strongly that government is making sense or what it's doing is making sense to me, I will say so. But if it's not making sense to me, my brother, I will say, no, this is not making sense. And again, when the opposition also is making sense to me, I will side with them. I will say but I'm not actually, my reactions or my actions are not motivated by what people say. but it's motivated by what I observe, what I see, and how I'm inspired to respond to them.
Okay. Sheikh, is that possible in the current setup that we have? Because that is where the bone of contention really lies.
Yes.
Who is right, who is wrong?
Trevor, now if we start apportioning blame, I think the way I would want us to approach this problem is this. Yeah. Can we look at it not as us versus them? Because this is where we have a problem. Can we look at it as us? And what do I mean by us? Kenyans. We, the people of this country called Kenyans, who are here not by accident, but by God's divine plan, that me and you and everybody in this country, we are here by right. And then, of course, I know we like talking about rights, but can we also talk about duties? And that document we are calling the Constitution of Kenya does not only talk about rights, Trevor, it also talks about duties. And I think over-focus on rights is a big problem in this country. I think we need to re-educate ourselves and change our culture of over-focusing on rights. It's even breaking marriages. When in a marriage, I handle a lot of matrimonial cases where the wife is just talking about my rights, haki yangu, the husband also haki yangu. Then who is going to discharge the duties? I think you'd rather be talking about the duties. And especially at a critical moment like this, it's more of the duty and the rights will come in. Now, Trevor, you called us here, all the three of us, because we are religious leaders. And it's like when we speak, we want to speak the voice of God. And I want to limit myself to that now. Let me refer to what I call the user's manual. Why do I call it the user's manual? Just like a manufacturer of a car gives you a user's manual, it guides you on what to do in every situation. When you have a breakdown, refer to the user's manual. My user's manual as a Muslim is the Quran. For you as a Christian is the Bible. Did God Almighty in his wisdom envisage that a time will come when my people will be in turmoil? The answer is yes, because God is all-knowing. In the history, if you look at the Bible, which I've read, look at the Quran, in the history of humanity, situations like this have arisen. Did God leave us without directions? The answer is no. This is an almighty God, an all-knowing God. God knows that a situation like this will arise, and he has not left us without solution. Let me refer back to my teachings about when a situation like this arises, where, and I agree with my colleague, there is injustice. As a religious leader, what position am I supposed to take? Not side with anybody, side with what is right. I should stand up for what is right. And remember, as religious leaders, ideally, we should not have any vested interest. We are speaking the voice of God. For me, when I look at the teachings of my religion, it tells me, rescue your brother, whether he is the oppressed or the oppressor. It sounds strange, but I'll explain. Rescuing the person who is oppressed is get justice for that person, okay? For the oppressor, you rescue them by telling them, stop oppressing. That is the middle ground that we should take. So what am I telling to the leadership of the country? Those that we have entrusted with the instruments of authority and even our resources to run this country. They are doing that on our behalf. If you know that what you are doing is oppressive, can you stop it? And we are telling you now here, through this media house, stop the oppression, do what is right. Remember, it is God who put you there, and you are answerable before God and the people. All of them saw. If you are a Christian, you lifted the Bible. If you are a Muslim, you lifted the Quran, and you said, so God help me. Stop oppressing. And for the oppressed, we need to rescue them. We get justice for them. But then the how now. The how now. Now, and I repeat again here, what is the guidance of God when you find yourself in a situation like this? There is something that you feel is harmful to you. Of course, injustice is harmful. Look at the story of Moses and the children of Israel, leading them from oppression and liberating them. There was a formula that was used. What was that formula? Change the situation from a bad situation to a good one, and that is what we need now. From oppression and injustice to justice and everybody getting their rights. You do not change a bad situation by creating a worse situation. Trevor, if you want to beautify your face, you don't cut your nose. Actually, you'll make it even uglier. So, and I'm quoting from the teachings of Islam. They tell you a harm is removed, but you do not remove the harm by creating a bigger harm. And we need to reason as Kenyans now. The youth, the elderly, the religious leaders, the political leadership, media houses, because this is a very powerful tool. How can we remove this injustice without creating a bigger problem? Because you might, at the end of the day, get that justice, but you have no country.
Yeah.
And rebuilding a country is not a joke. I've just come from a country, I will not talk about it, where people are queuing for 2-3 days to get 3 liters, I mean, maybe 5 liters of petrol. A country within the region here, I will not mention it, I don't want to get problems tomorrow. But when I looked at it, I said, okay, we have problems in Kenya, but we are better off. Yeah. That doesn't mean we are trying to justify what is happening. So we are appealing to everyone. Can we come together as one country and see how we can solve our problems without banning the country?
All right. Gentlemen, I have to take a quick break here. We are back with this conversation in just a short while. We'd also like to hear from you, Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. Where do we go from here? How do we pacify the nation? How do we calm down the national tension? What does justice look like? That's the conversation we're having here on the Monday Report. We'll be back with you in just a short while. We're still trying to reach Bishop Okinda. He's all the way in Dallas. So as soon as we have better connection there, we'll talk to him in just a short while. See you shortly.